So, moving forward, the next trip to George, we brought storyboards of all the sequences. And you can see that even in this early phase, it's pretty close to, well, it's very close to what we had at the end. And we're starting to do an indication of the script. Steve Spiegel, a very talented writer on Star Tours The Adventures Continue, writing the dialogue. You'll see that our pilot is Ace. We'll talk more about that later. Here's Darth Vader. You can see we've already sort of tricked out to say we want to have a tug of war with Darth Vader. We're going to go backwards. Right from the start, we said one should go backwards, one should go forward. How do we make them as different as possible? So here we are going backwards. Lightspeed. There's R2 is still with us. And here we are in the inadvertently in the Boonton Eve Classic. And 3PO has, I've always wanted to do this. We try to put homages to the original show, as well as Star Wars, of course. And you can see that Marianne's already indicating here in theater effects and the motions that we wanted to do, etc. We had the commentators in this version, but they went away, as things do. And then, of course, the battle at the end. Ace saying I have a very bad feeling about this. Interesting line, Steve. The drill droids landing on the windshield. Still, coming back to that notion of breaking the windshield. We didn't let them break the windshield because, of course, at the altitude that we were at, it would be a very short ride. But going the wrong way in the tunnel, all the things that they're in there now were in these set of storyboards, including the landing platform at the end. And at the end of this very great presentation, waiting for what George had to say, he said, "I don't do storyboards anymore." Oh. So we packed up our bags, went back to Imagineering, and the next thing we did was to create animatics of all the sequences. And George is right, because storyboards can lie. You can cheat in storyboards. You can make it look like you can cover huge ground in storytelling. And the reality is, we were going to live with frame accurate to the original show, exactly that length. And we had to prove to George that everything we wanted to do, we could do. So we spent the next several months creating animatics, and we took these back to George. Sort of like going back to the wizard. About the stick. The animatics. And that went really well. So I thought that since it's D23, and we don't usually show this kind of stuff, but we thought you might like to see, well, what do you mean? What did you show George Lucas? I mean, we hadn't started ILM yet, so what do we do? So this is one of the, this is an animatic of one of the sequences from the show, and you get a sense for, in 2008, what Star Tours looked like.
Star Tours 113, you are cleared for takeoff.
Roger, Control. Well, it looks like we're #1 for departure, so sit back, relax, enjoy the flight. Stormtroopers, this does not look good.
Shut down your engines, Captain, and prepare to be boarded.
This is a civilian flight.
We know you have the stolen plans.
Plans? Reverse thrusters.
Not so fast.
He's got us in some kind of force field.
I want those plans.
R2, give me the main guns. Hold on. Shields up and punch in those hyperspace coordinates. There's no time for calculations. Lightspeed, punch it. Where are we now? Hollow. We've lost our stabilizers. See what you can do, R2. Seatbelts, folks. This could get bumpy. R2, I really need those stabilizers. Imperial blockers. What are they doing here? We've been hit. Don't worry, folks. We're safe now. Or not. Brace yourselves. R2, I need those engines and stabilizers now. Hold on. One transmission. Put it up.
This is Viceroy Bail Organa of Alderaan. Hidden aboard your vessel are secret plans that are vital to the rebellion. These plans must be delivered safely to the rendezvous point I'm transmitting to your R2 unit. Good luck, Star Tours, and may the Force be with you.
What do you say? Should we join the rebellion?
Yeah!
Then let's go What the? They didn't say anything about a battle. R2, plot us a course out of this mess and get us down to the surface. Buzz droids. R2, get them off of us. They got to the stabilizers. We're losing control. I see the ship. There's nothing we can do. Hang on! Prepare for impact! R2, I still need those stabilizers. Online? Good. It's about time. Hang on, everyone. I think maybe it's this one. Maybe not. There's the landing platform. Hang on. Sure hope those stolen plans come in handy. I guess we're all in the rebellion now. May the Force be with you.
It's there. Changes happen, and that's what's kind of fun about it. One of the ones that happened as we were in production on the show, we met with George, I would say almost every 3 weeks when we were in production, which was amazing. Having worked on the first show where George was so busy that we saw him just a few times, it was fantastic to be able to meet with him on a regular basis and like a master's class with the masters, which was fantastic. And one day, in the middle of our review, and we had run this, and he stopped, he said, you know, I don't think we'll be carrying stolen plans. Now, we thought it had been really cool. It's like, we are the missing link, you know, between the episodes. We had the plans that show up in episode 4, and it was Star Wars. And he said, no, I think we've done that one. He said, why don't we put like a speaker on the simulator and have, you know, a rebel spy, and then, you know, someone will say something and you'll play a line out of the speaker, say, yeah, I'm the rebel spy. And so, you know, we got in the car, and on the way back, we always had our conversations in the car driving back as we sorted through George's notes. And I was like, well, you know, that, because people go on it so many times, that pretty soon they'll know it's just a speaker. You know, what if we could really pick a guest and make them a rebel spy? So Kathy Rogers, our show producer, the next day, he says, well, how did it go? And it went great, and it did go great. He approved based on the basis of BS Animatics. He said, great, we're ready for production. He was like, oh, here we go. But I said, we got one little change. He said, what's that? I said, well, we want to have a rebel spy thing. Is there a way that we could like capture an image of the guest and put them into the monitor on the side so that they can become a part of the show? And I said, okay, let me look at it. And in great Imagineering fashion came back and said, you know what, the guys think they can do that. They think we can do it. And then, you know, you never stop there. He said, okay, well, do you think you could take the image of the guest and actually put it in the movie? And they're like, oh, gosh, we'll give you one. Give me an image. So well, let's go think about that. And they came back and figured out how to do that. And it's one of the things that, you know, George made these changes as we went along in our show that really had a huge impact. And we didn't realize at the time. At the time, we were sort of struggling with how do we deal with the node and what do we do. And we came back and said, we think there's a way that we can do this, and put a guest in. He thought it was great, and so on we went. So instead of having the stolen plans,
prepare to be boarded, Captain.
I'm afraid this has been a terrible mistake. I am seeing...
We know you have this rebel spy on you.
I've never seen that human before.
So that was really cool, and of course we had the, you know, the idea was that the Empire was scanning through lots of images. So there are lots of, and I know you're a crowd that likes this, there are lots of little hidden things in those images. For example, have any of you ever seen this one? It's there, he's there, and so are a lot of other people, because we like to put people in our shows for our little inside jokes. So yes, George is in there. And now it was time for ILM. So he had approved the animatics. We were ready to go, and now you bring in the big guns, you bring in the best of the best in the world, ILM. And the first thing they started to do are these incredible pieces of art that they would, come to meet with us and say, okay, so we're thinking this kind of look for the launch. This is the sort of spaceport. What do you think? It's great. Or, well, this is the kind of look we're thinking of for Hoth. What do you think? It's great. We're liking all this. Naboo, this is the idea of the hangar. Now, remember we had that one where we were going off the waterfall. Well, George said, no, I think we should go underwater. And so, great, let's go underwater. That, part of our goal on this was to make the motion of the simulator as different as the places we picked. And so, the places we picked were picked partially for the fact that they were iconic, and partially for the fact that we wanted them so different. A white ice planet and a green jungle, and an orange desert, so that you absolutely, as a guest, knew, wow, I went to different places. So we decided we'd have an underwater sequence and we'd have this great, crashing finale. And so they said, well, this is our idea for the hangar. I was like, wow, that's great. Love it. And of course, the Death Star. And since we're between episodes 3 and 4, it's the original Death Star under construction, because who would want to see that? Kashyyyk was probably the most challenging for them, because for you fans of the movies, we don't see a lot of Kashyyyk in the films. And so this was the one that I think ILM kind of went, wow, we're going to have to really invent a lot more of this planet, which we were thrilled about, because we thought this is probably what our guests would like to see, is show me some stuff I've never seen before, as well as the stuff I love. So we started with those images, and then we got to work. So Marianne, sitting in the front row, and Bill George, an incredibly talented director from ILM who worked with us, we're off to Alaska to start scouting locations for Hoth. Not that we were going to film there, but to take images that could be composited and used to create the look of Hoth that was different from the look of Hoth in the movie, since we were covering more distance. So they had a very cool trip looking at ice formations. And we had lots of other shoots that we were doing. The film is obviously mostly digital, but there are some things that you need to do the good old-fashioned way. Like if you want to have a Wookiee hit a windshield, you do it for real.